In a few words, I will not repeat all of the very good and important points that were taken up today, because I very much agree with the role of independence, the role of our capacity building, the role of our stakeholder and media relations in making audit as impactful as possible. I will be going through how we in Finland maybe think of the challenges ahead when it comes to bringing added value to our society, being maybe model organizations. We know that the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals also make a note to how supreme audit institutions work in their respective countries. And then I will be starting with a few words about how the environment around us is changing. In Finland, we have a saying about which actually makes us aware of the risks of thinking that something is well when everything around you seems well. We think of our saunas, our saunas, of being a place of well-being, being a place of health and purity. And basically, the saying that I'm thinking of points to the fact that if you leave the door of a sauna open in a very cold winter's night, well, the winter climate will not be heated, but the sauna will get cold. So the saying points to the fact that even though I, as an Auditor General, would feel very comfortable in my own sauna, in a warm, well-being, healthy environment, well, the door might be open and the climate outside might be such that if I just keep sitting with that door open, I will freeze to death. And many of these challenges we have outlined today. Some of them linked to the way audit institutions are regarded by those who use the information we produce. Some of the challenges are linked to technology, to new ways, new modern times, the new ways of how to actually deal with our methodology, the way we do our work. And in this picture, we have actually outlined some of the changes and challenges for the whole of public sector and for all public officials who today should be more and more aware of new kinds of expectations that the citizens, the media, the stakeholders, other peers are actually awaiting from them. So within our sauna, in our context, public officials today need to have a very extensive knowledge base. They need to be constantly learning. They have to have very good networks. They should be doing their work in a participatory way, decentralized, being able to change the road if the feedback loop brings them information that now we're not going in the right direction. And in such an environment, the role of an impactful and efficient supreme audit institution is to understand what do these changes mean to the essence of our work, and how should our work be changing because the work of our auditees and the work of our parliamentarians and other users of the information is also changing. So in order to not freeze to death in a sauna in a nice Finnish winter forest, we need to understand the circumstances that are bringing us from a very different kind of society where things could be predicted, they could be managed, and there was a lot of cohesion. Now we're moving towards a society where uncertainty and surprises are every day, One recent example is that in Finland in 2015, we all of a sudden received many, many times more immigration than ever before in Finnish history. And although now, with hindsight, we might see that there were signals of this potential event happening, we were unable to read those signals, and now we can only congratulate our public officials and the administration of the capacity to actually adapt to a very different framework, a very different type of setting when they had to deal with the policy changes that such a sudden surprise actually that put a strain on the public management of this. So unexpectedness, and then we need to have the understanding that our societies are becoming, through globalization, through the influence of social media, of real-time information flows, the societies are becoming much more complex and multifaceted. So there are not so much social cohesion as before, but rather the expectations of our citizens are changing because the essence and the style and the way and the culture of our citizens is changing. Amidst this change, public officials still should be doing their work as efficiently as before. They should have the relevant experience, and they should be timely, and they should be consistent and predictable in the way they manage public issues and public money. So that is a challenge. And it's also a challenge to us as supreme audit institutions. For me, this basically means that as in Finland and in the Finnish SAO, the public administration average age is around 50 years. We have a tremendous capacity building challenge in our hands. I feel very responsible when I think of our auditors today, thinking about their future, their career paths, and wondering when every day they see in the news that robotization will take over, that actually automation will reduce the need for auditors in the private sector, why not in the public sector as well? We are faced by these news that actually make us hesitant about our own future as professionals. And my answer to this is that we should talk about it together. We should come together as a profession and have and make use of the international platforms, be that INTO-SAI, Euro-SAI, or then other regional groups. Our colleagues here pointed out to the fact that we should be doing a lot more cooperation, a lot more benchmarking, a lot more sharing of our data and expertise, and sending people over to other SAIs or over to the public administration or even to the private sector to get new kinds of insights and to understand the world around us so that we would actually have the capability to audit those relevant and timely questions. So here we are with different platforms that we should make more use of. What we see now as emerging issues within our professional platforms is that a lot of common themes come up. But even within those platforms, it sometimes seems that we are reinventing the wheel at different tables. So how could we build bridges? In the Finnish SAI, we try to focus on certain areas because of limited resources and go to our Nordic SAI partners for some insights about societal change because our societies are very similar. Then we think about EU cooperation when we think of how to have foresight and have a capacity to predict which issues might be on the EU member states table in the coming years. This relates to audit planning, which was very well presented by our Serbian colleague. Then we come to capacity building issues within the Euro-SAI framework. Here we see that we have very good opportunities to both come together to explain how we're implementing the SAIs, how we're implementing new data and technology tools in our work. But also, as was pointed out by Miroslav, we should be presenting our audit results and opening up our databases of information so that we could actually, as European SAIs, use the data and use the information that other SAIs are gathering so that we could benchmark and bring forward some items that could be helpful for our own public administration in its development. And of course, we're looking very much forward to how we will be reporting as a global community through InterSci to the United Nations on the national implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. So many challenges, and of course, every challenge is also an opportunity, but we will need to work together in these kind of forum in order to understand how to best not close the doors of our warm saunas, but actually to think of us as a community who should be careful of not thinking that because our institutions are very important and have a long tradition of status, that the cold air from the outside would not affect us. The cold air does affect us, but we need to manage it coming together and discussing the current issues. Thank you very much.